Hey everyone. If you're into AI and what Sam Altman, the ChatGPT guy, thinks about it all, you're going to love this deep dive. We're looking at this Forbes article. It's about Altman's interview with Bari Weiss, and let me tell you, it's packed with thought-provoking stuff. Ready to get into it?
Yeah, definitely. What really struck me was how surprised Altman is by how fast everyone's adopting AI. He's like, I've never seen anything like it.
It is kind of crazy, right? I mean, look at the internet or even smartphones. It took a while for those to become totally everywhere.
Totally. So it makes you wonder if AI is hitting a different nerve, Are AI tools finally at that point where they're actually helpful for everyday things? It's like how smartphones took off because they actually solved problems for people.
And speaking of problem solving, guess what? Altman himself uses ChatGPT for search now. Yeah, no more Google for the guy who created ChatGPT. He even mentioned that younger people are calling it chatting up information. Kind of funny, but I get it.
It really shows how AI is changing our whole relationship with information, right? Like, if the ChatGPT creator isn't using Google anymore, what does that mean for the future of search? Are we heading towards a world without, hyperlinks?
So how does this new search thing even work?
Well, Altman describes it as basically having a conversation with AI to find what you need. No more clicking through pages and pages of links.
Wow, that's a huge change.
It is, and it brings up so many questions like, will those traditional search engines adapt or will they disappear? And how will this change how information is shown and how we use it online?
It's like we're at the very beginning of a whole new way of accessing information. Yeah. But this shift in how we search might just be the start. Remember Altman's September manifesto? He predicts something even more radical.
Yeah, he's talking about superintelligence, right? And he thinks it'll be here in the next 18 months, by summer 2026. That's a seriously tight timeline.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't super techie, what exactly does superintelligence mean?
Well, it sounds kind of sci-fi, but basically it means AI that's smarter than humans in every single way. Think about it. Problem solving, being creative, even emotional intelligence.
Whoa, can you even imagine what the world would be like if that actually happened in the next year and a half?
It really gets your imagination going, right? What's driving this crazy fast progress is, a few things, like how much computing power we have now, the insane amount of data we create every day, and how much more sophisticated AI algorithms are getting. It's all happening so fast.
It makes you wonder, what parts of our lives won't be touched by this, But Altman thinks that even with all this change, our basic human nature won't change. He says it's the context we live in that'll be radically different.
That's an interesting way to look at it. He's saying our core drives as humans, things like love, connection, purpose, all that stuff, will still be there. But the world around us, the tools we use, the challenges we face, they'll all be totally transformed in ways we're just starting to understand.
Like how we were just talking about search changing. But what about other stuff? What about jobs? A lot of people are worried about AI taking over their livelihoods, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a real concern. And Altman does talk about it directly, but some people might say he's a bit too optimistic about job displacement.
He seems to compare it to the jobs we had in the past that seem, almost pointless to us now.
Exactly, like lamplighters.
Right. He actually said something like, nobody is looking back at the past wishing they were a lamplighter. I remember reading that in the Forbes article. It's kind of funny, but it does make you think.
He's saying that just like nobody wants to go back to the days of lighting street lamps by hand, we shouldn't be afraid of the jobs that AI might automate. But is it possible he's downplaying how disruptive it could be? Even if there are new jobs, how do we help the people whose skills become obsolete? And what about the safety nets we might need to build?
It's definitely something to think about as we navigate this new world.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on that? What stands out to you as we talk about these changes in the job market?
Yeah, it's a tough one. No easy answers. But maybe if we start thinking about these challenges now, we can at least start planning for a future where AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
I like that, focusing on solutions instead of just freaking out about the problems. Right. And speaking of potential solutions, Altman seems to think that losing jobs to AI could actually be a good thing in the long run.
He does. He's got that optimistic view. His point is that as AI starts doing certain tasks, it frees us up to do new and different types of work, jobs we can't even imagine yet.
Kind of like how, those lamplighters probably never imagined a world with self-driving cars or virtual reality.
Exactly. The key is to see this shift as a chance to redefine what work even means. To ask ourselves, what new skills will be important? What problems will need solving? What jobs can we create that don't even exist yet?
It's exciting to think about all the possibilities, but it's also kind of scary, It feels like we're standing on the edge of the unknown. We are, and that's where imagination comes in. Altman thinks that if we could fast forward 100 years, the prosperity we'd see would be just as unimaginable to us as our world would be to a lamplighter from centuries ago.
So he's basically saying our ability to imagine the future might be the biggest thing holding us back. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. Think about it. What amazing things are we missing out on because they're beyond what we can understand right now? Maybe we're so focused on the problems that we're not letting ourselves see the potential for positive change.
So instead of stressing about jobs disappearing, we should be focusing on all the new opportunities that might pop up.
Exactly. We got to be proactive about shaping the future of work, not just reacting to whatever happens.
This has been such an insightful deep dive into AI and how it's going to impact our world.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling kind of excited and overwhelmed at the same time,
It's a lot to take in, for sure. But that's the cool thing about talking about these ideas. It makes us think bigger, question what we believe, and imagine a future that's both different from and connected to our present.
Totally. Maybe we should wrap things up by giving our listeners something to think about,
Yeah, I agree. This whole conversation has been about AI, its impact, and what the future might hold. But what if we zoomed out a bit?
What do you mean?
Well, Altman thinks the future will be so prosperous that we can't even imagine it. But what if that's true for more than just AI? What if our imaginations are limiting us in other parts of life, too? What else are we missing out on because we're stuck in our old ways of thinking?
Wow, that's a really good question. It's like a challenge to dream bigger, to push the limits of what's possible, not just with AI, but in everything.
Exactly. Discovering new things never stops, and the world of AI is just one awesome path to explore.
And on that note, we encourage you to keep thinking about these ideas, keep asking questions, and keep imagining. The world of AI is huge and constantly changing. There's always something new to discover.
Until next time, stay curious.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget about the big picture. But when you really think about how fast technology is changing, like we've been talking about today, it does feel like something massive is about to happen. And like Altman said, maybe the only thing holding us back is our own imagination.
It's funny. We always think of imagination as being limitless, right? But maybe it's more like a muscle. You have to actually use it to make it stronger.
I like that. Like, the more we see new ideas and challenge what we think we know, the more we can imagine what's actually possible.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about these deep dives. They help us break free from our usual way of thinking and see what might be out there.
For sure. We're expanding our mental horizons with each conversation, right? Who knows? Maybe by pushing our own imaginations, we can actually help shape a future that's even better than we can imagine right now.
I think you're right. The future isn't something that just happens to us. We help create it through the choices we make, the actions we take, and even by using our imaginations.
Well said. I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into AI and superintelligence. We've covered so much today, but remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. Keep exploring these ideas, keep asking questions, and keep imagining. The world of AI and how it affects us is huge and always evolving. There's always more to learn.
Until next time.